we at? My mic sounds nice. Check one. Mic sounds nice. Check two. Ah, na 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 na. It'll make you say, na 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 na. What's up, people? This it's Thursday night. The man is in the house. I'm trying to just cool out, trying to be my usual fantabulous self. What up? What up? 1 2 1 2. Where you at? 1 2 1 2. Yeah, B. Yeah, people, how's it going? I got my cough medicine right here. Ah, Miss Smith, how be you? See you up in the place. I'm well, I'm well, I'm well. If you like, you want to be on camera, you can go to my page and I left a Zoom what's my ticket? A link. So I might bring a couple people up just to see what's happening. How's everybody doing? Everybody's been calling to check on me. Like I'm gonna go out and do something, hurt somebody. Oh my goodness. Oh shit. One two one two one two. 1 2 1 2. Yep, 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 yep. Yep, 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 yep. Here I be, people. Here I be. This Thursday night, your man is in the place. You got a couple newbies in the house. This your first time? Come on in. Take a seat. Sit yourself down and take a seat. All you got to do is just listen to me. We're going to talk about a couple things tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on. And I also planned on talking about, for the last couple of weeks, I have been doing something with what I call old school dating in a new school social media environment. So 1 week I tried to feature the women, and the next week I tried to feature the men, and I had some problems with Facebook and beyond. So this week I decided I would try this out with Zoom. So we got a couple minutes to play with this and see how it goes, and I may take it to the next level. As far as Zoom is concerned, we're going to be restricted to about 40, 45 minutes. So it is what it is. This is try it as we go. So, if you know anything about me, you know I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. Um, if it's your first time, while I'm waiting on some people, usually about this time during the show, I'm clowning. I might be playing around with a little song, not really trying to sing the song, but I might just do a little something, whatever song was in my head. And tonight, I figured I'd just kind of keep it serene. I want to make it fun, but it's a serious situation as well. Um, with so many young people dying for no reason at all. Um, Another thing about me, I spent 41 years in medicine in one leadership position or another, from supervisor up to executive director and CEO of county health centers. Most of the time, I ran a radiology department at the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda. And doing that job, I had an opportunity to meet some movers and shakers, presidents, heads of state, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for a brother straight out the sixth ward, ninth ward in New Orleans to achieve some of the things that I had an opportunity to achieve, um, it just had to be for me. So I thank God that I had the opportunity to not only meet people, but to help people get their careers off the ground. Um, then I had an opportunity when I was in high school. I wanted to be a doctor and a lawyer, and because I was kind of fast, and I met a bunch of fast ass girls, I became a dad before graduating. And my mom's being an old school country girl. She said, if you was man enough to create life, you're gonna be man enough to take care of it. So I had to put some of my scholarships on hold, and I went into the military. Uh, so I had a chance to do something, but it just demonstrates to me if God has something for you, you're gonna get it. And ironically, I wound up getting a master's in radiology as the practitioner and a master's in public policy, public administration. So, in essence, I was kind of like a doctor and lawyer on a budget. So, I still got a chance to parlay and play in those areas of um, that I was interested in. Shout out to my high school counselor. I went to George Washington Carver, and we had some really good teachers back there. And I got tired of hearing Baptiste, you got a lot going for you, Baptiste. You got to give that teacher this, that teacher that, that teacher, yeah, 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 yeah. And they would tell my mom this stuff, and my mom would say things like, son, I don't know what it is about education, but I knew they were willing to kill us to keep us from getting it, to get as much of it as you can. Consequently, I got the undergrad for me and I got the master's for my mom and my dad. So that's me paying homage to them. Um, since I'm on the clock with um, this Zoom thing, and I sent the link out kind of late. I kind of did it on purpose, mainly because I I wanted to award. I tagged some people. I wanted to award those people that have been supporting me for the last almost 3 years that I've been doing this. So I think August will make 3 years that I've been doing this podcast. So before everybody and their mama had a podcast, I was doing a podcast. I started off with I got something to say, so it must be true. And within 6 months, there was six other shows with my title. And because I didn't copyright it or whatever, I let it go. And one of the things I realized is that there's so much craziness going on that it defies logic. So I came up with this, OMITdaLOGIC. this shit makes no sense, but every week we're going to try to make sense of it. So we make it make sense, if that makes any sense in and of itself. So with that being said, I got 7 past the half hour. If you're here, you're here. If you're not, then I figure you have some other things going on. So with that being said, I want to say good evening and welcome to the show. My name is Hank Batiste. Name of my show is called OMITdaLOGIC, right over my head. One of the things I always say when I start my show is how truly humble I am that those of you thought enough of me to tune in. And to those of you that's been doing this, tuning in every Thursday night, that just blows my mind. All the things you could be doing, the fact that you take the time to tune in to hear what I have to say and hear me break down. Sometimes it's the political jargon, sometimes it's just my interpretation on what's going on and how to maneuver and manage our way through the madness. And other times it may be things like this. For the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been talking about dating in the I call old school dating. Old school dating to those around my age, you know, back in the day, we didn't necessarily use the term date. We say I'm going out with so and so and so and so, and that let people know that it was a serious, somewhat relationship between you and that person. Um, not necessarily monogamous, but there was a mutual agreement between the two of you. So that with that being said, when I think about one of the things that was simple back then, if you were in the mall, shopping center, walking down the street, the grocery store, gas station, school, church, park, those were the places that we met someone. Our circles were pretty small. And the people that we in fact dated or went out with, spent time with, they came from the same circles that we came from. Now with social media, our our rings are just enormous. If you could get her number on the moon, you could probably go out with her. Lord knows there's enough rockets going to and outer space in the moon anyway. So with that, it kind of complicates matters now because once upon a time, you kind of saw the girl, the woman, and in your case, women, the man, on a more frequent basis. So it was easy to get to know that person. It was easy to spend time. It was easy to exchange numbers. It was easy to talk on the phone. And that was our primary thing. We talked on the phone usually during the week or sometimes um, as I got up to my junior year. I hung out with some people and we used to go bowling every weekend. Um, during the week, I think on a Wednesday or Thursday night, something like that. And then when we got a little bit older, we started doing the little college thing. You know, there were different bars around New Orleans and Fat City that had college night and Uptown and off of Carrollton and different places that had things going on. Then it turned into ladies' night. So meeting people was easy. Nowadays, we all either tend to be very busy or we tend to not have that same, if you will, access to people. So we meet people, but getting to know them and quote unquote date them. Now, I say I don't date. If I want to get to know you, I'm gonna make it known that I'm interested, and then we can spend some time together and see what develops between us. But that has kind of gone out the window. But online dating, social media dating, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, um, you sign up, you get, I don't know, 10, 15 notifications from people that may be possible dates, a dating material on a daily basis. So those numbers make it, I think, a little bit crazier. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, to see what other people's um, experiences was. Before I kind of get into that, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about um, the whole Tyree Nichols thing. I know you guys are inundated, you're saturated, you're super saturated, and some of you may be tired of hearing it. I say we need to talk about it because unfortunately, with Black issues, once they are no longer newsworthy or top news in the top news cycle, then it's swept under the rug and things are mitigated. They're discounted. You understand? So I did a very impassioned um, video, and I said there was something wrong with so many people saying don't watch the video. So I said there were 1,000 reasons why they shouldn't have posted the video, but there were a million reasons why we should watch. And all of the things that I could think of, the most poignant example that I could think of was um, Mamie Till, Emmett Till's mother. After Emmett Till was accosted and he was beaten, I didn't talk about all that happened because this happened in 1955. I was born in 59, but I had a cousin named Emmett, and he was named Emmett because of what happened to Emmett Till. But this young 15-year-old, 14 or 15-year-old boy was caught. He was beat. He was tarred and feathered. He was burned at the, literally burned at the stake. He was, all of these things was done to him. Then they threw his body in the river or the lake or whatever. And when his body was recovered, it was so bad that you couldn't even recognize his fake him. And his mom traveled to Mississippi from Chicago, and she brought his body back. And the undertaker said, "Well, I could do this. I could make him presentable." And his mama said, "No, I want the world to see what these people did to him. I want the world to see what they did to my baby." And I said, if she could do that, and this was the catalyst that started the modern civil rights movement, which ran from 1955 to 2025 because we still ain't free. We still, um, I remember in the 60s, I didn't know who Dr. King was. And the night he was assassinated, now 1968, April 1968, I was 8 years old. I wasn't 9 yet, but I can remember vividly watching Ironside on TV. And Walter Cronkite burst in with a special report, and he says the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was just assassinated at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. Memphis. Where have I heard that before? Oh, so there were a lot of things that led to my impassioned video this past week. Memphis seems to have something going on with it. You know? Memphis was the birthplace of the Grand Ole Opry, and from the Elvis movie, we found out about part of the Chitlin circuit with the Bobby Blue Bland and BB King and so forth and so on, Lil Richard and Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, these guys. But anytime you have black folks trying to do something, it seems like other folks come in with an ulterior motive of bringing it down. Then I start looking at the situation and I found out that, first of all, being a chief of police or even an executive, you work at the pleasure of a board. As a chief of police, you work at the pleasure of the mayor. So we've got this black female who allowed this to go on. And then she was slow about um, punishing folks. And then we come to find out that, there were all five of them were black. And then there was a white cop with a taser. And then there was this. And then there was that. And I said there are a lot of things wrong with that. First of all, growing up in the 60s, I didn't know who King was until the night he was assassinated. My mom fell back in a chair and she said, Lord, what are we going to do now? And this was the first time I ever saw my mama cry. So I started to pat her on the back and I said, Ma, it's going to be okay. And in my child mind, because back then we were allowed to be children, we weren't inundated with adult problems. I said, Ma, it's going to be okay. But in my child mind, I thought that Dr. King was related to us. He had to be. Otherwise, why would my mother be crying? So he was assassinated on April the 4th. From April the 4th to April the 8th, when he was buried, suddenly we had this wake-up call. And my mom allowed me and my sister, who was 4 years my senior, to watch TV and see these atrocities that were going on in Birmingham, in Mississippi, and heaven forbid, New Orleans too. I thought it was a foreign country. And I said, Mama, why are they doing that to them people? Well, my mama said, son, that's right here. There's certain parts of the city that you can go. She says, that's why I like to take you to lunch at Kraus. Because once upon a time, we couldn't eat at the lunch counter. And I said, Mama, their food ain't that good anyway. But we had this thing that if we could get black folks on the police force, they knew our struggle. Therefore, they would be with us. Do you understand? That's not what happened. What we saw happen was black men and black women joined the police force and sacrificed their black culture for a blue shield and a blue wall of silence. And now when we see things like what's happening or what happened to Tyree, and I talked about it last week, the fact that my son travels for his job. My son looks like every other person's son. He's well kept, but he's bearded because they think that's cool. But he looks good with it. He keeps it neat and blase, blase, blase. And he's wearing his work uniform, or what they call his polo shirt, with the insignia of his job on the shirt. And he still gets pulled over. And I talked to him a couple nights ago, and he said, Dad, I get stopped 2 or 3 times a week sometimes. Sometimes it might be every day, depending on where I am. And I said, I thought it imperative that we all watch it. When I say we all, I don't just mean black folks. See, I want to challenge white folks. I want to challenge Jews. If they get that incensed about something that Kanye said, I want to see them get that excited and incensed and pissed off about how this young man was treated. I want to see them get just as mad as though his name was Rosenberg a Spielberg, a Seinfeld, or whatever. I want to see the homosexuals, the gays, this all of this. And I'm not being belligerent and I'm not being disrespectful. What I'm saying is I want to see them get just as excited as they get when it's someone within their community. I want to see the women get just as excited as they got when I said that Nancy Pelosi was a bad pick for Speaker of the House. I want to see women get just as excited as they were when they talked about Kamala Harris becoming vice president. And then my people, my A5As and my Qs and my AKAs and my Kappas, I want to see them get just as excited about this. I want this to be a people thing. And even those people that call themselves Republicans and the Black Caucus and everybody else, I want to see everybody get just as excited because the truth of the matter is, last month it was Tariq. Tomorrow it could be your son. And then Ricky Smalley's son was found unresponsive and he died. This stuff affects our young people in ways that are unimaginable. So we have no idea. And I'm going to tell you the truth. The reason I wanted you to see it because I'm a combat trained Marine and I couldn't watch the whole thing. But I think it's important that you try because when we allow the media and the so-called legislative branch to dictate to us what's important and how long it's important, then these cops who have traded their Black culture for a blue shield and a blue wall of silence, they get off. Instead of being charged and convicted for murder, they get convicted for what? Manslaughter. They get a 10-year sentence where they spend 3 years at most in protective custody. My thing is, if you commit a crime, you are a criminal. To hell with the fact that you used to have a gun and a badge. If you wouldn't have did the shit you did, you wouldn't be in there. So your behind needs to be in general population. You need to know what it is to try to exist and survive from day to day with that unknown what if. Because every time I get my car, I, I grow my beard so I look older. I cut this gray off my face. I got this gray that's going across the top of my head. So I got this gray streak. So I guess in a year or two, I'll start to look like Stripe, the gremlin. But I grow this on my face so that I'll look older. I cut this off my face. I still got this baby face. And I get stopped, especially late at night. And I still look just like all of you. So enough said about that. I really wanted to do this show about men and women. I think what I'm gonna have to do because I'm my nerves are raw. The other thing I said is simply because it wasn't my son doesn't mean that I can be empathetic and sympathetic to what the Nichols family is going through. Imagine if your name is Floyd, if your name is, I don't know, there's so many names. It just bewilders my mind. When I think of Zimmerman here in Florida, and he killed this little boy, and on one hand, I know every time this happens, their parents are reminded again. It's like having a sore, and now we start to scratch it, and now it starts to fester again. So I want all of us to feel what I feel as though it were our children. Because if in fact it takes a village, are they not a son, a daughter, a cousin? How many of us come from a neighborhood where you have cousins, and play aunts and uncles that treat you better than some of the people that you are blood related to? I want to back up. Um, my Zoom thing, I think I signed up for it, and I think I accidentally came out and went back. I posted a link, and if that link isn't working because I'm not seeing anybody here, I think I accidentally pressed it and turned it off. Um, and it's just me being fidgety tonight. So I'm gonna keep this short and sweet tonight. I'm gonna tell you guys next week, as the old folks used to say, come hell or high water. I want you guys to come back. I want you to come back with your stories about dating. That's what we're gonna focus on. But yesterday they laid this young man to rest. Yesterday I had to listen to Ricky Smiley talk about his son. Yesterday I had to talk to my son, and my son keeps telling me all of this. And in the back of my mind, I've never talked to my son as much as I do now. But I see it as a near miss. So when he says, "Dad, I've got to go to Alabama. Dad, I got to go to Arizona. Dad, I got to go to. Dad, I'll be in. Dad, I'm gonna be driving 6 hours. Because anything more than 4 hours, they usually fly him. But sometimes he'll take it upon himself to make the drive. He says the drive gives him time to think, and it takes more time going through the airports and this, that, and the other. So I can understand. But from the flip side of that, I'm saying anytime you're in a car for more than 5 minutes, you increase the chance of a police encounter exponentially. I stand more of a chance of getting hurt by a cop in a traffic stop than I do of going down in an airplane, a car accident, it heaven help me, or even being carjacked. Let's be real about it. You can see Ray Ray and Pookie coming. You can do something about that. You can pick and choose when you go to the gas station. The cops, you never know. They could be standing outside your house and say, "This here, who you think he is with 3 cars in this house and this, that, and the other." And once upon a time, I knew everybody that lived here, where he come from. So they ride behind me too. I know they know all my vehicles. I'm sorry, folks. We were supposed to talk about something else, but sometimes, some way, it is what it is. And these things just come up and I have to speak on them. Why? Because I have to omit the logic. This shit makes no sense. So I'm gonna I'm gonna call this to an end. But before I go, um, one of the things that made me do this is like I couldn't escape it. Yesterday, I'm listening to Ricky Smiley, and as much as I tried to watch all of that video, I did not want to watch the funeral procession. I didn't want to watch the funeral. Um, and then today, on Thursdays, I watch reruns of Chicago PD. And with this happening, NBC took it upon themselves to show in season 8, the first episode of season 8, it deals with the one black cop on there, Officer Atwater, was riding with this white cop who he had a run-in with in an undercover operation. And he and this guy were trying to kiss and make up. And this cop belligerently accosts this black kid walking down the street. The kid takes off running. The cop follows him into this place with his gun drawn and gets killed. Well, the black cop did what we hope all police will do. He tells the truth. And as a result, he's being harassed by all of these other people saying, "How could you do this? He died in the performance of his duty, and he died in the line of duty, and his family was looking on this, and why would you shame his name?" And the black cop did what we hope all black cops would do. He spoke up, he told the truth. And then he and his unit were trying to arrest someone else. And when they called for backup, nobody responded. And one of his partners in his unit got shot. Hit him in the vest, broke a couple ribs, but he lived. So I won't profess to knowing what it's like to be a cop on the street. And truth be told, this is why I never wanted to become a cop. Because I'm a little too, as they might say, self-righteous. And this is why I haven't run for office. Because I would either, at some point, I would sell out the lure of money and power, might poison my compass. And instead of pointing due north, it might just be skewed to the northwest. And that might be all it takes. Because once we take a little bit, we're on the hook for a lot. And there's no turning back. Now they got dirt on you. So I couldn't escape this, folks. To those that came in waiting to talk about your dating habits and all of this, do me a favor. Go on one more date, give me a little bit more data, a little data, and come on back next week. As old folks say, come hell or high water, we're going to talk about that. And I want to talk about the girls, the women versus the men, because what I suspect, some of the things women say men say women do. And hopefully we can find some common ground. Because I suspect, just like me, you want to find someone that you can be your travel partner, someone you can watch a little TV with every now and then, someone you can walk on the beach or through the park or wherever you walk and do some of the things that you do. But the other side of this was I wanted to find out, why is it when some people find this, it's not everlasting? Because if we talk about that on the front end, maybe we can come to understand some things on the back end and avoid making some of those mistakes. So, folks, I think that's all I got for you tonight. I apologize for my long winded, loquacive style tonight. But as they used to say in church, my heart was heavy and I just had to get it off my chest. So before I go, I'm going to ask you to go to my YouTube. That's it right there, OMITdaLOGIC. Subscribe, ring the bell. Um, and then you'll know when I post something. For next week, I'm going to do this on Zoom. We're going to start at 7:30, and we're going to go till about 8 o'clock, 8:15. And all we're going to talk about is dating 101, old school dating in a new school social media environment. He says, she says, she says, he says. As always, imparting. I'll see you here next Thursday night, same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. And as I always say, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose or a reason. And then imparting to wish you love, I wish you peace. Two fingers to the sky. I like you, man. Hair grease. I'm out of here. Good night, people. I love you to death. Ain't shit you could do about it.